Before we begin, let's talk about terminology and what do when I talk about a presentation, because sometimes when I mention the word presentation, people think that I'm talking about the PowerPoint, and I'm talking about much more than the PowerPoint. So what is a presentation? Presentation is the whole thing. It's not just the slides. It's the presenter, the audience, the event, the questions and answers. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about the presentation. When I want to talk about the slides, I'll say slides or PowerPoint. But for the purposes of this course, when we talk about presentations, we mean the entire thing. Okay? People have this fixation on the slides. They think it's all about the slides. And as we're going to see, the slides are not the most important thing in your presentation. In terms of preparation, the slides are the last thing you should be preparing. First, you need to prepare your ideas, how you're going to structure them, how you're going to structure your content. And then when you've chosen that, when you've decided on that, then you go and prepare your slides. And you will find that preparing slides is much easier then, and it's much quicker. So the next thing is, a presentation is not a meeting. It's different from a meeting. We all know, have to sit and attend many meetings, too many meetings perhaps. And meetings are should be when you bring people together to think collectively about a problem. And meetings, there's a lot of back and forth. People speak, people jump in and add some ideas to that. Often there's interruptions, but it's people speaking, thinking collectively about a problem. Now, you can have a presentation inside of a meeting. You can have a presentation to kick off a meeting, but a presentation is very different from a meeting in terms of the dynamics. A presentation is when one person has prepared previously something to say. Often they'll have slides, although that's not absolutely necessary. And they're going to be given an amount of time in that meeting, or they're going to be given an amount of time to present their idea. And the audience are going to allow them to present that idea without interrupting them. And then at the end, usually there's questions and answers and there's interaction. A couple of tips for you therefore to make sure that people don't misunderstand your presentation as a meeting, because if they do, they're going to be interrupting you all the time. So very important, when you're presenting, always stand up. Always stand up. Because if you sit down to present, that's signaling visually that it's a meeting, and then people are going to jump in and interrupt you much more. Whereas when you stand up to present, it's signaling, I'm now going to present my idea, I'm going to take some time to do this, don't interrupt me, and you're going to have less interruptions. And of course, I don't just mean we should stand up to present when it's face to face, also online. And this is one of the most important tips I can give you for improving your body language and your presence online when presenting. And that is stand up to present. So right now, as you can see, I'm standing up to record this video. Standing up always try to stand up when you're presenting, because it's going to make you look much more dynamic. It's going to give you much more energy. It's going to make your voice come out much stronger. Do stand up even when you're presenting online. Now, the next thing is, as you can see in the next photograph, you can see these two men talking, and this is a conversation. And a presentation is not a conversation. Because in a presentation, you need two elements, really. You need a presenter and you need an audience. Now, one person is not an audience. An audience is a group of people. So if you arrive at your meeting online or face-to-face and there's only one person there, do not make a presentation to them. Do not open up your PowerPoint, start projecting slides, and start delivering your pre-prepared presentation. Why not? Because a conversation is far more powerful than a presentation. Far more powerful. The only thing is, we can't have conversations with groups of people. It's impossible. But we can have conversations with one person, two people, I would say even three people. For three people, I would not present to just three people. I would sit down and have a conversation with them. And that's going to be far more powerful, because they're going to feel like I'm responding to their needs, that I'm answering their questions, that I'm not giving them a pre-prepared talk. Now, that doesn't mean that the preparation you've done for your presentation won't be useful in that conversation. It'll be very useful. The only difference is you won't be able to deliver it the way you planned. You're going to have to enter into that conversation, and when the opportunity arises, take out of your mind that piece of the presentation that you've prepared, and in answer to one of their questions, deliver that point that you want to make. And you might even during the conversation want to show them some slides, and you can show them some of those slides you've prepared, but I wouldn't recommend having your laptop open on the table, let's say, as you're speaking, because when you have a screen open in front of people, our attention naturally goes towards the screen. It's like when you walk into a bar to meet your friends and there's a television on in the corner, you'll find that people are always looking up at the television. They really attract our attention, screens, because of the colors and because of we're so used to seeing interesting things coming from screens. So when you want to have a conversation, don't have a screen open in front of the people you're speaking to, but then open it when you want to show the slide and then close it again. That's why tablets are great when you're having a conversation but you want to show some visual support material like some slides, because a tablet is like a page that you can pass to them and take back from them. Don't make presentations to just one person or two, I would say even three. More than three, now you have an audience and now you can start making a presentation to them. And finally, in the final picture, we can see a classroom. And presentations, while they have a lot in common with classes or like teaching, because what you have is you have a teacher speaking to a group of people, they are fundamentally different. And the biggest difference is that people that come to watch a presentation are not necessarily coming to learn something. They're not necessarily coming and seeing you, the presenter, as someone with knowledge that they don't have. In fact, audiences can feel like presenters are condescending, or when they go into like teacher mode, trying to teach them something they don't know. What do audiences look for in presentations? We're going to be talking about that during the course. And of course, there is a learning element to watching a presentation, but it isn't the only element. The other differences between presentations and teaching are that usually when you're teaching, you have much more time, classes are longer, they're spread out over days and weeks. With teaching, I find that young professionals, when they're straight out of university, they have a tendency to make presentations that look very much like class, like teaching their audience. And that's because their only experience of presentations has been seeing teachers teach. But be very careful about going into your presentations, preparing presentations to teach your audience something, because as I said, they can often feel condescended to or spoken down to in that way. So what do I mean by a presentation? When you have a presenter, you have an audience, it's the whole thing, and they are presenting a solution to a problem that the audience has. More about that in the next videos.